Meghan Markle's latest television appearance has reopened one of the oldest questions from the Sussex departure. Can Harry and Meghan really claim to have stepped away from royal life while still using royal status as the engine of their commercial brand? That question is not new. It has been hanging over them since the Sandringham summit, but it has come back sharply because of Meghan's confirmed guest appearance on MasterChef Australia, where contestants are reportedly asked to create a dish fit for a duchess. On the surface, this might sound harmless. A former actress, now living in California, appears on a popular cooking show. She talks about food, Australia, memories, family, and the emotional meaning behind a dish. She smiles for the cameras. The contestants cook, the audience watches, everybody goes home. But with Meghan, almost nothing is that simple, because the title is always in the room. The issue is not whether Meghan is allowed to enjoy food. Of course she is. It is not whether she is allowed to appear on television. She had a television career before she married Prince Harry. It is not even whether she is allowed to be paid for media work now that she is no longer a working royal. The issue is whether the commercial value of that appearance depends on her royal connection, while the Sussexes continue to insist that they are separate from the institution they left behind. That is why the phrase "fit for a duchess" landed so badly with critics. Meghan is the Duchess of Sussex.
Breaking today, Meghan Markle has just disgustingly broken the terms of the Sandringham summit in her latest TV farce as the Sussexes start to leak new details about the meeting with the King. How predictable. But of course, the mainstream media are giving her a pass on this. The royal family are giving her a pass on this, but I'm not, because I am completely disgusted by the fact that confirmation of Ms. Markle as a guest judge on MasterChef Australia shows
that is her title. But the whole point of the Sandringham settlement was that Harry and Meghan could not have a half-in, half-out royal life. They could not stop doing the duties, move abroad, sign commercial deals, and still trade freely on the royal machine as if nothing had changed. They could not keep all of the magic while rejecting the work and restraint that made the magic valuable. The late Queen Elizabeth II understood that immediately. The monarchy cannot function if royal status becomes a portable luxury brand. It cannot survive if titles become tools for personal enrichment. It cannot have members step outside official duty while still presenting themselves in a way that looks royal enough to sell, royal enough to promote, and royal enough to command special treatment. That was the moral core of Sandringham. It was not simply a technical agreement about HRH styling or official duties. It was a boundary. It said, in effect, if you want independence, then independence must be real. You cannot keep dipping back into the royal well whenever the commercial moment requires it. This is why critics see the MasterChef Australia appearance as more than a bit of light entertainment. According to the reporting discussed in the source material, Meghan's episode is set to air on Channel 10, with contestants challenged to make a dish suitable for a duchess. The ingredients reportedly include seasonal produce such as Brussels sprouts, celery, macadamia nuts, lemons, apples, mandarins, strawberries, and Australian honey.
By the Aussie broadcaster that she asks contestants to create a dish fit for a duchess. So sure, she may have been angry about the TV producers referring to her as royalty, but trust me, as someone who covered the Sandringham summit, this TV appearance goes against both the clear law of the Sandringham summit, if only it was enforceable by law. Lock her up! Lock the traitor up! But also actually the moral code of what the Sandringham summit was all about. Create a dish fit for
Meghan's own promotional language framed the appearance around two things: her love of food and her love of Australia. Again, in ordinary celebrity terms, that is perfectly standard. But Meghan is not being booked only because she likes food. She is being booked because she is Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, wife of Prince Harry, daughter-in-law of King Charles, and a woman whose entire commercial value is still tied to the royal story. That is the contradiction. If the show was simply booking Meghan Markle, former actress and lifestyle personality, the royal language would not be necessary. The challenge would not need to be framed around a duchess. The publicity would not need to orbit the title. But the moment the title becomes part of the hook, the appearance begins to look like another example of the Sussexes monetizing royal connection while claiming to be free of royal control. That is why the reported frustration around being called royalty on camera matters. According to the discussion, Meghan was said to have been unhappy or frustrated when others referred to her as royalty during filming. But if the actual challenge is built around a dish fit for a duchess, then that frustration becomes difficult to take seriously. A person cannot object to royal framing in one breath and then benefit from royal framing in the next. This is the pattern that has followed Meghan for years. She appears to want the glamour of rank without the limitations of rank. She wants to be linked, but not ranked. She wants the title when it opens doors, but distance from the institution when the title carries obligation. She wants the emotional power of being royal, but the commercial freedom of being a celebrity. That is exactly what the Sandringham summit was supposed to prevent. The summit was never designed to stop Harry and Meghan from living their lives. It was not meant to trap them in Britain or force them to remain working royals against their will. It was, in part, an attempt to protect the monarchy from becoming a commercial accessory. And this is where the MasterChef appearance becomes symbolically important. Food has become central to Meghan's attempted reinvention. Her Netflix show, With Love, Meghan, was built around lifestyle, cooking, hosting, flowers, kitchens, friendship, and carefully curated domestic warmth. Her brand has circled around jam, honey, cooking, entertaining, and a kind of soft-focus California luxury. She has tried to move away from the open conflict of Oprah Spare and the Netflix docuseries, and towards something gentler, a homemaker, a tastemaker, a host, a woman who tells stories through food. There is nothing inherently wrong with that. In fact, it could have been a smart move. The public was tired of Sussex grievance.
So many times, does it even matter anymore? But to me, it actually does. When she is directly going on a television show, my understanding is that she was paid a lot of money for this television show. This was not for charity. It was not for Archewell, which, as you point out, Tash, and we'll come to it later, she never talks about anymore. This was to plump up her bank balance and makes a big thing about, well, I'm not going to be called royalty because, of course, we can't use that. But then the actual challenge is a dish fit for a duchess. I'm sorry. You are breaking the Sandringham summit. You are yet again.
A warm lifestyle brand might have given Meghan a fresh lane. It could have softened her image, moved her away from the royal feud, and allowed her to build something that did not rely on attacking the palace. But the problem is that the royal framing keeps returning. If the selling point is still duchess, then the lifestyle brand is not truly independent. It is royal adjacency with a mixing bowl. It is not a clean reinvention. It is the same old title, repackaged in a softer setting. That is why critics reacted so strongly. They see Meghan's MasterChef appearance not as a harmless cooking cameo, but as another breach of the spirit of Sandringham. They argue that this is exactly the kind of commercial royal branding the Queen was trying to avoid, a Duchess title used to make a paid television appearance more valuable. Meghan's defenders would push back hard on that. They would say she remains the Duchess of Sussex, whether critics like it or not. They would argue that using a lawful title is not automatically exploitation. They would point out that royals and former royals have appeared in media contexts before, that Meghan had a professional life before the palace, and that Harry and Meghan need to earn a living because they were told to become financially independent. There is some force to that argument. The difficulty is that Harry and Meghan did not choose a quiet form of independence. They chose an independence built on global deals, personal revelation, and constant public positioning against the royal family.
Not ranked, but also the same woman that when she went to, I think it was the LA tar pits, and there was a group of school children. This came out in a report, that there was school children, and she got them the person, whoever it was, to announce to a bunch of 11, 12-year-old girls, the Duchess of Sussex, let alone when she went to a friend's house that was allowing her to have her interview there. And she also got announced walking into the room. I mean, Meghan, she knew it looked bad. This was the thing. So she quickly got her spokesperson to put out a statement. This is very typical of Harry and Meghan, to turn around.
That makes every royal coded appearance more loaded. It is not simply Meghan doing television. It is Meghan doing television while still being publicly defined by the family and institution she helped accuse, criticize, and leave. That brings us to the second controversy, the Daytime Emmy nomination for With Love, Meghan. According to People magazine, Meghan's Netflix lifestyle show was nominated in the Outstanding Lifestyle Program category at the 53rd Annual Daytime Emmy Awards, with winners due to be announced in October. The other nominated programs reportedly include A Different Breed, George to the Rescue, The Motherhood, and The Wizard of Pause. For Meghan's supporters, this was a moment of vindication. They could say the critics were wrong. They could say the show had cultural value. They could claim that professional recognition proved, with love, Meghan was not the failure its detractors described. In the world of public relations, an Emmy nomination is a useful phrase, even if the category is not the most prestigious part of the television awards universe. But that is exactly the point. The nomination sounds grand because the word Emmy carries weight. Most casual viewers will not immediately separate the primetime Emmys from the daytime Emmys, or know how narrow the lifestyle category may be, or understand how awards campaigns work. The headline does the job. Meghan Markle's Netflix show is Emmy nominated. That is powerful branding, but it does not necessarily prove broad public love, cultural importance, or commercial success. Awards are not magic mirrors of quality. They are also industries. Campaigns matter, submissions matter, categories matter, voters matter, publicists matter. Networks and producers know how to position shows for recognition. That does not mean every nomination is bought in some crude way. It does mean a nomination should not be treated as neutral proof that a show captured the public imagination. The controversy around With Love, Meghan was never only about whether it looked pretty. It was about authenticity. The show was sold as intimate, personal, domestic, and heartfelt, but many viewers found it artificial. Critics argued that the setting felt overproduced, the gestures too staged, the tone too self-conscious, and the lifestyle advice too disconnected from ordinary life. Meghan was trying to present herself as warm and relatable, but the result, for many, looked curated to the point of unreality. That is a recurring Meghan problem. Her brand often reaches for intimacy, but the audience senses performance. Her stories reach for sentiment, but critics hear calculation. Her lifestyle content reaches for simplicity, but the production around it feels expensive, controlled, and elite. That is why the Daytime Emmy nomination created such a strange reaction.
Do you know what I mean? The big deal,
Shows
big budget
you've heard
TV
of.
shows that you've heard of. This is the Daytime Emmys, Tash. Now, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How on earth can what was it called? Yeah, With Love, Meghan. How on earth can With Love, Meghan qualify for the Daytime Emmys? It is a streaming show that was very much launched as a prime time proposition on Netflix with a prime time budget. But no, she's got a daytime Emmy nomination.
Yeah.
Here's the need to know from her propagandists at People magazine, of course, who breathlessly announced
It gave her supporters something to celebrate, but it also gave critics a new angle. They asked why a Netflix lifestyle series, launched with the weight of a major streaming platform and the global attention of the Sussex name, was now being framed through the more modest world of daytime lifestyle programming. There is no shame in daytime television. Daytime TV can be warm, practical, entertaining, and beloved. It has launched huge careers and built deep relationships with audiences. But it is generally a different world from a big budget streaming prestige project. So if Meghan's show was originally presented as a major Netflix lifestyle launch, critics were always going to question why its main awards pathway appeared to be daytime. This is not only snobbery, it goes again to positioning. The Sussexes constantly present themselves at the highest possible level. global humanitarians, major media producers, royal truth tellers, campaigners, founders, and influential cultural figures. But the measurable outputs often appear smaller, less successful, or less durable than the branding suggests. That gap is becoming a major problem. The deals were huge. The attention was huge. The expectations were huge. But the results have been uneven. Major audio partnership ended. Netflix has had some high-profile Sussex content, but much of it still depends on royal conflict. Meghan's lifestyle show generated discussion, but not necessarily admiration. Her product launches have attracted curiosity, but curiosity is not the same as a stable business. The brand keeps promising reinvention, then returning to the same source of value, royal proximity. That is why the MasterChef and Emmy stories belong together. They both show Meghan trying to establish herself in the lifestyle and entertainment space, but both also reveal how difficult it is for her to stand fully apart from the Duchess identity. The title remains the hook, the headline, the attention engine, the thing that makes the ordinary extraordinary. And that is the problem Sandringham was meant to address. The third part of the story is the alleged leaking around Harry and Meghan's return to royal settings, including Althorpe and Highgrove. This is where the Sussex contradiction becomes even more visible. Reports discussed in the source material suggested that Harry and Meghan visited Althorpe, the Spencer family estate where Princess Diana is buried, with Archie and Lilibet. The Sun reportedly had details about Harry leaving Althorpe, and sources insisted there would be no photos and no private details shared. But critics immediately pointed out the absurdity. If a source is telling a newspaper that no details will be leaked,
nomination, because you campaign for it. The producers, they put ads out, they target the voters. You can absolutely buy a nomination. But the bigger point here, Tash, is that it's the daytime Emmys. Actually, if she was nominated for the main Emmys, I'd have to be a bit like, whoa, that's a surprise. But how on earth can a show on a massive primetime budget, remember the budget for this was something like $80 million, Tash, with like 80 staff members. Yeah, exactly. Yep. A huge team. All of a sudden, she's admitting, oh no, this is just a little daytime show, because again,
and details are already being leaked. This is one of the Sussex's most persistent problems. They often appear to want credit for privacy while still benefiting from publicity. A visit to Diana's grave with her grandchildren would be deeply personal. It would also be deeply valuable as imagery. Whether filmed by professional cameras or simply captured on phones, moments like that can become future content. The Netflix documentary already showed how personal footage can become commercial material later. The famous Freedom Flight and other private clips were not only memories, they became assets. That does not mean every private family moment is secretly planned for sale. But after years of Sussex media projects, the public has learned to be skeptical. When Harry and Meghan say a moment is private, people ask why the press knows about it. When sources say no photographs will be released, people wonder whether photographs will appear later in another documentary, book, montage, or anniversary package. When they insist they want peace, people notice how often the story keeps moving through friendly outlets. The Diana element makes this especially sensitive. Harry's connection to Diana is one of the most emotionally powerful parts of his identity. It explains much of his public sympathy, it gives his story depth, it also gives his media projects enormous market value. Diana remains globally compelling. Anything involving her memory, her grave, her childhood home, her grandchildren, or Harry's unresolved grief has built-in emotional force. That is why critics are wary when Diana becomes part of the Sussex publicity cycle. Nobody can deny Harry his grief. Nobody can deny Archie and Lilibet a connection to their grandmother's history. But the moment those private experiences begin to appear in media narratives, suspicion returns. Is this family memory, or is it brand architecture? Is this healing, or is it content? Those questions may sound cynical, but Harry and Meghan created the conditions for them. The Highgrove meeting raises the stakes even further. According to Katie Nichols' reporting in Vanity Fair, King Charles went to great lengths to keep a reunion with Harry, Meghan, Archie and Lilibet private. The report said Queen Camilla was brought into the meeting for support, that she came from her Raymill House estate, and that the Prince and Princess of Wales were not made aware of the meeting beforehand. Sources close to the King and sources close to the Sussexes were quoted as describing secrecy, privacy, and an agreement that no details would be shared. Again, the irony is obvious. If nobody is sharing details, why are there so many details? If the meeting was top secret, how do we know how it was arranged, who was told, who was not told, how long it lasted, what promise was made?
Are coming.
Naturally.
So, yeah, obviously. So first to the Sun, who just happened, Tash, just happened, even though we were not meant to know anything, just happened to be told that Prince Harry was leaving Althorpe, and just happened to be told that he was due to visit her grave with Meghan and Archie and Lily.
What gate?
Yeah, exactly. And Tash, of course, we know that this was the leaks directly coming to the Sun
and how delighted certain people allegedly were that it had been kept quiet. This is the Sussex leak problem in miniature. The story says, nothing will be leaked while leaking the frame that benefits the Sussexes. The frame is clear. Harry and Meghan came back. The King wanted to see them. The children were included. Camilla hurried to be there. The palace kept it quiet. The meeting was private. No photos were released. Therefore, this was a mature and meaningful royal step toward reconciliation. That is one possible reading. But there is another reading. The meeting lasted about an hour. Harry was reportedly not allowed to stay at Buckingham Palace. There was no public photograph. There was no broad family reunion. There was no evidence of William and Catherine being part of any reconciliation. There was no weekend together, no public blessing, no visible return to royal life. It may have been a limited, controlled, compassionate meeting by a father and grandfather, not a triumphant Sussex comeback. That distinction matters. Harry and Meghan's supporters want to present every royal contact as validation. If the King sees them, they are back in the fold. If the children visit, the Sussexes have won. If Meghan enters royal property, she is royal again. If Camilla is present, the meeting is serious. If no photo appears, they can still imply status through the fact of access. But access is not restoration.
Snippets coming out to do with the actual meeting with the King as well, with Kate Nicol today. It's obvious that this was never going to stay quiet. But yeah, I mean, seriously, Althorpe's apparently got several different entrances. It's one of those estates where they do have prominent guests go there, and there are ways that you can get in and out relatively unseen. And let's be honest, Harry and Meghan are multi-millionaires. Why not take a helicopter in? Why not go in for absolute privacy? This was obviously timed for the photograph that knew exactly the time, exactly where they would be. I mean, they did to be...
A father seeing his son is not the same as the monarchy welcoming Harry back into trust. A grandfather seeing grandchildren is not the same as the institution forgiving years of attacks. A short meeting at Highgrove is not the same as a return to working royal life. This is why some commentators argued that people should not overreact against King Charles. A meeting does not necessarily mean surrender. It may simply mean that the King wanted to see his grandchildren or felt that basic family contact should not be impossible forever. The palace has a difficult balance to strike. If Charles refuses all contact, he looks cold. If he allows contact, Harry and Meghan's camp may spin it as victory. If the meeting is public, it becomes spectacle. If it is private, details still leak. If William and Catherine are told, their involvement becomes part of the story. If they are not told, that becomes a different story. There is no clean option. This is the bind the Sussexes have created. Every act of royal compassion can become a public relations asset. Every private meeting can become a media narrative. Every family gesture can be reframed as institutional weakness. That is why trust is the central issue.
all of the time. They set up the paparazzi all of the time for those two to be like, oh, it was nothing to do with us. It's the boy that cried wolf, really. I mean, you wouldn't believe that they hadn't set it up. But of course they were going to leak. Of course they are. This is their only currency. Harry's got the Diana card and taken the children there. And I think majority of people believe, like myself, that this will appear in the Diana documentary that they're not apparently working on. That will come out at a later date. There is bound to be releases of photographs of the children. They don't necessarily have to be at her graveside, but they will be where...
The royal family cannot function if every private moment might become future material. They cannot relax around people who have turned family conversations into interviews, memoir chapters, and documentary scenes. They cannot treat reconciliation as normal if reconciliation itself becomes a marketable storyline. That is also why William and Catherine's position is so important. The source discussion raised skepticism about the claim that William and Catherine were not told. The argument was that it would be strange for the king to arrange a meeting of this sensitivity without any awareness of how it might affect the heir and his wife, especially if the news could dominate headlines around one of William's major charitable events. Whether that detail is accurate or not, the fact that it became part of the public narrative is revealing. It encourages the idea of division within the royal family. It suggests Charles is doing one thing while William and Catherine are excluded. It invites speculation that Camilla was barely informed and had to rush in. It makes the meeting sound dramatic, secretive, and almost cinematic. And that kind of framing benefits the Sussexes because it makes them look powerful enough to unsettle the entire institution. But a calmer reading is possible. The king may have handled a difficult family meeting with a tight circle. Camilla may have known more than the reporting suggests. William and Catherine may have been given enough of a heads up to avoid being blindsided.
It's worth going into because what I think is so odd about this, it's like, and this is what Harry and Meghan always do, they try and make it look as if the leaks are coming from within the royal family. But it's like, because do you remember the meeting with Charles Tash? It was like, oh my God, it was so emotional. It was like a movie scene and Charles was in tears. And then there was
tears.
Then there was the leak from Buckingham Palace saying, oh God, they made out as if this was like the Treaty of Versailles.
The Treaty of Versailles.
Yeah. And it's the same thing here to Katie Nicholl, because it's like Queen Camilla, she just wanted to be there so badly.
She dropped everything.
The meeting may have been brief, controlled, and deliberately limited. The palace may have confirmed only the minimum once Harry had left. In other words, the drama may be in the briefing more than the meeting. That is often the case with Sussex-related stories. The actual event can be small, the media narrative around it becomes huge. A 1-hour meeting becomes a reconciliation drama. A cooking show appearance becomes a royal branding dispute. A daytime nomination becomes proof of entertainment success. A trip to Althorpe becomes a possible future Diana storyline. The common thread is image management. Harry and Meghan have built their post-royal life around controlling narrative, yet they often accuse others of leaking, briefing, and manipulating the press. That contradiction is why critics are so quick to pounce. They believe the Sussexes condemn the game while playing it aggressively. That does not mean every leak comes from them. Royal reporting is complicated. Sources can be close to families, friends, staff, broadcasters, production teams, security circles, or media organizations. Some information may come from outside the Sussex camp. Some may come from royal circles. Some may be speculation dressed up as certainty. But the Sussexes' history has made skepticism rational. They have used private footage. They have used emotional interviews. They have used memoir. They have used docuseries. They have used carefully placed sympathetic media. They have used royal titles in commercial contexts. So when a supposedly private moment immediately becomes a detailed media story, people connect the dots. The contrast with King Charles's public work is useful here. In the source material, attention briefly shifted to a moving exchange between the King and James Finton, a 104-year-old Burma Star veteran, during a visit to the Isle of Man. Fintan is one of the last surviving veterans of the Burma campaign, and he had previously met the king at commemorations for the 80th anniversary of VJ Day in 2025. Their conversation was warm, understated, and very British. Two older men speaking about health, endurance, and simply keeping going. That moment mattered because it showed what royal service often looks like when it is not being turned into a personal brand. It is not always glamorous, it is not always headline grabbing, it is not always emotional in the modern television sense. It is showing up, it is listening, it is honoring a veteran. It is allowing someone else's life to be the focus. It is using the Crown's presence to lift a person or community, rather than using a person or community to lift the Crown.
Keeping the meeting top secret, they haven't said anything to anyone. The agreement was made before they met the king that nothing would be shared, no photos, no details. It was a top secret arrangement and they pulled it off, and frankly, they are delighted about that. They were at Highgrove for an hour or so, but don't expect to hear anything about what was said. That was the promise Harry made to his father. It's critical because this is the first time the families have met in 4 years. But Tash, you have been sort of trying to dampen down some of the celebration from the Sussex squad and also some of the disappointment from royalists in regards to King Charles about the decision to go ahead with the meeting.
That is the difference between service and self-promotion. When Charles sits with an elderly veteran, the story is the veteran, the war, the memory, the continuity, and the respect. When Harry and Meghan enter a public narrative, the story almost always becomes Harry and Meghan, what they meant, what they signaled, what they gained, who leaked, who was excluded, what it means for the brand. That is not entirely their fault. Media attention follows them because conflict follows them. But they have also fed that machine for years. The deeper problem is that Meghan's MasterChef appearance, the daytime Emmy nomination, the Althorpe reporting, and the Highgrove leaks are not separate stories. They are all chapters in the same struggle. The Sussexes are trying to build a life after royalty without ever fully letting go of royalty. They want Meghan to be a lifestyle figure, but Duchess remains the selling point. They want, with love, Meghan to be judged as entertainment, but the public watches it through the lens of royal status. They want family visits to be private, but the narrative of access still benefits them. They want to be independent, but proximity to the king still matters. They want to control their story, but the constant briefing makes control look like manipulation. This is why critics keep returning to Sandringham. The Queen understood the danger of ambiguity.
Unfair. Harry was not allowed to stay at the palace. The meeting, and you say not reunion, the meeting lasted an hour. They also took the children to see the evil relatives despite no apology or accountability that both Harry and Meghan demanded. They have undone all their complaints and look like total fools. You only have to look at how brief it was and that Charles slapped Harry down from staying at the palace. Sussex propaganda want people to believe this was a happy reunion, and whilst the king got to see Archie and Lily, I don't think it was happy families with Harry and Meghan.
So he knew that a half-in, half-out arrangement would confuse the public, damage the monarchy, and allow royal status to become a commercial tool. She drew a line because the institution needed clarity. Harry and Meghan have spent the years since trying to blur that line. Sometimes they do it softly, through lifestyle content and sentimental language. Sometimes they do it dramatically, through interviews and accusations. Sometimes they do it symbolically, through titles, visits, and carefully framed access. But the pattern is the same. They left the job, but not the aura. They left the duties, but not the status. They left the palace, but not the commercial value of palace proximity. And that is why every new project becomes controversial. There is also a deeper business problem here. Royal attention is powerful, but it is not the same as customer loyalty. A title can make people click once. It can make a television appearance newsworthy. It can make a lifestyle show trend for a few days. It can help a product launch generate curiosity before anyone knows whether the product is good. But a sustainable business needs more than curiosity. It needs trust, repeat interest, consistency, and a clear reason for people to return after the first headline fades. This is where Meghan's brand keeps running into trouble. The public may watch because she is the Duchess of Sussex, but will they keep watching because the content itself is compelling? They may read about a cooking show cameo because it is framed through royal status, but will they care about the recipe afterward? They may talk about an Emmy nomination because it gives supporters and critics another argument, but will that nomination translate into a lasting audience? Those are very different questions. The Sussexes have always been excellent at generating the first wave of attention. Their departure from royal life was dramatic. Their interviews created global headlines. Their family accusations dominated news cycles. Their titles still carry a charge in America, Australia, Britain, and beyond. But attention created by controversy is unstable. It burns hot, then it demands a new spark. That is why the brand keeps returning to the same emotional material. Palace tension, royal access, Diana, titles, security, reconciliation, exclusion, and grievance. For Meghan, the challenge is especially sharp because lifestyle brands are built on comfort and trust. Audiences need to believe the host is inviting them into a world they want to inhabit. If the atmosphere around the host is always argument, accusation, and strategic briefing, the softness of the lifestyle image becomes harder to maintain. A duchess in a kitchen can be elegant.
On against Catherine and William. I mean, the bit in that article by saying that Catherine and Prince William were not told about the meeting, that Queen Camilla wasn't even told, it was a last minute thing. Do people really think that the king wouldn't have had conversations with his wife before doing that? What, he just quickly called her up and say, oh, darling, can you drop everything you're doing? Because I've decided to let the two traitors in to our home at Highgrove and the kids are coming. Just, pop along whenever you get a chance. It doesn't make sense. And as for Catherine and Prince William, do people really think when Prince William was playing one of his biggest events?
A duchess in a kitchen, while everyone debates whether she is exploiting the title, becomes something else entirely. That is why a phrase as simple as fit for a duchess carries so much weight. It does not just describe a dish, it reactivates the whole unresolved business model. It reminds viewers that the brand is still dependent on the thing it claims to have left behind. If Meghan had built a food brand under a completely separate name, avoided royal language, refused title-based challenges, and made the product stand on its own, the criticism would be weaker. If Harry and Meghan had visited Althorp and Highgrove with no briefings, no details, and no narrative management, the privacy claim would be easier to believe. If, with love, Meghan had become a hit because audiences loved the content rather than because supporters needed a headline, the Emmy nomination would feel less defensive. But that is not what has happened. Instead, each story reinforces the same suspicion. The Sussexes want the benefits of royal connection without the discipline that royal connection requires. This is why the MasterChef phrase matters so much. A dish fit for a duchess is only a few words, but those words contain the entire Sussex problem. They take a commercial television format and wrap it in royal status. They turn Meghan's title into a marketing device, and they remind audiences that without the duchess element, this appearance would not have the same global charge. And once that happens, critics will ask the obvious question, what was the point of leaving royal duty if the title still does the selling? That question will follow Meghan into every lifestyle project. It will follow Harry into every interview. It will follow both of them into every royal adjacent visit, every reported family meeting, every charitable appearance, every award nomination, and every streaming deal. The answer cannot be another briefing. It cannot be another carefully worded denial. It cannot be another claim that they were misunderstood. It has to be behavior. If they want to be private, they need to stop feeding public narratives. If they want to be independent, they need to build something that does not depend on royal language. If they want reconciliation, they need to prove that private meetings stay private. If they want respect, they need to stop treating royal status as a flexible asset that can be switched on for commerce and switched off for criticism. The public is not confused anymore. people understand the pattern. They see the title in the cooking show challenge. They see the Emmy headline. They see the private visit reported in the press. They see the Highgrove details. They see the attempt to frame limited access as symbolic victory.
James is one of the last surviving veterans of the Burma campaign. His Majesty previously met him at commemorations for the 80th anniversary of VJ Day in 2025. This interaction between two men, both with their own battles with age and with health, is really, truly wonderful. Watch.
I wasn't expecting to find you here.
You know, I've been waiting for this for quite some time, and I'm glad you're actually managed to make it. And I hope you're all well, sir.
Not too bad, thank you.
They see the monarchy being used as both enemy and selling point. That is why this moment matters. It is not about Brussels sprouts, macadamia nuts, or a television kitchen. It is about whether Meghan Markle can ever become a public figure separate from the Duchess title she continues to use. It is about whether Harry and Meghan can ever have a private family moment that does not become part of a media strategy. It is about whether the Sandringham boundary still means anything if the Sussexes keep finding ways to commercialize the royal connection indirectly. And it is about whether King Charles can show personal compassion without allowing that compassion to become Sussex brand currency. In the end, the problem is not that Meghan appeared on a cooking show. The problem is what the cooking show reveals. It reveals that the Duchess title remains central to her value. It reveals that the Sussex brand still relies on royal symbolism. It reveals that privacy claims are hard to believe when details keep appearing. It reveals that every attempt at reinvention leads back to the same unresolved question. Are Harry and Meghan truly independent, or are they still trading on the monarchy they left? Until they answer that through actions rather than publicity, every new appearance will trigger the same reaction. The title opens the door. The controversy follows, and the ghost of Sandringham returns.